3 days had passed since the USJ incident, and the students had finally returned to class after those 3 days. This was fortunate for Midoriya, who hadn't been feeling well since the attack. But it wasn't Midoriya who wasn't feeling well. It was rather Venom not feeling well. This had been going on for the past few days. The creature's bad state was causing Midoriya to constantly feel nauseous and having strange cravings for foods he usually didn't eat together, like tater tots and chocolate, or deep-fried lobster and a chocolate milkshake. Right now, Midoriya was walking to class and discussing this with the symbiote. All the while, Ito was trying to get everyone to take their seats and looking stupid while doing so. Okay, Venom, this is getting old. What the heck is going on with this?
Hard to say. Could be one thing, could be another.
Well, what are some things you can think of?
2 things mainly. Either I'm having a hard time adjusting to this planet's atmosphere, or I'm on the verge of spawning an offspring.
The second theory seemed to surprise, gross out, and intrigue Midoriya all at once, as he entered class and sat down. Wait, so you can have baby symbiotes? How?
Symbiotes reproduce asexually, once every 10 years. When I bonded to you, I was around a year away from having to spawn again, but something caused it to change after I bonded to All Might.
Really? How?
I'm not sure. Anyway, symbiote offspring often start off as a blank slate copy with 0 capabilities and gain set abilities as it either adapts or finds a host, which is also important. Newborn symbiotes need to find a host as soon as they're spawned, or they'll die.
Then, if we do spawn a new one, we'll have to make sure it gets a host soon.
Exactly.
At that moment, Mr. Aizawa walked in. He had bandages wrapped around his face, and his arms were in 2 casts and slings. He also looked far more tired than usual. All right, everyone, settle down and take a seat. Class is starting.
Mr. Aizawa, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be recovering?
When you're a hero, you can't take holidays just because of a few injuries. Now, today we have something very important to talk about. Everyone was tense because of what Aizawa said, usually because it meant there was a test of some kind, which had everyone on edge. The UA Sports Festival is coming up. Everyone erupted into a full-on cheer as they heard this great news. All right, let's kick some ass! Kirishima was interrupted by Kaminari. Hold up, are you sure this is a good idea? The students all showed the same concern about having the sports festival, but Aizawa assured them it was very important to show that UA would not back down from such a cowardly move by the villains. While the rest of Class 1A went to lunch, All Might asked Midoriya to join him instead for lunch. Midoriya walked into the lounge with the number 1 hero and sat down nervously.
Why are you nervous?
I'm nervous because I don't know if he knows about you or not.
Now, young Midoriya, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure, All Might. What about?
Your quirk. You were able to temporarily pass it on to me, and it also spoke. I'd like to know why that is.
Midoriya was hesitant for a moment, but All Might reassured him that any secrets he shared would be kept. You okay with me telling him?
As long as he doesn't say anything, sure.
Okay, All Might. It's kind of like this. Midoriya went on to explain everything he learned from Venom about the symbiotes, including how they were found by the Life Foundation and how they originally came from space, even the weaknesses symbiotes apparently had. But Midoriya did not mention the possibility of Venom being on the verge of spawning, however, seeing it as a very sensitive subject at the moment. All Might took all this information rather well and then turned serious.
I will keep your secret, young Midoriya, but from now on, promise me that you and young Venom will be careful. Understand?
Yes, sir. At that moment, All Might suddenly reverted back to his small form, which shocked Midoriya and intrigued Venom.
That explains why he felt so weak when I attached onto him earlier.
All Might went on to explain to the two about his injuries and the battle he had fought over 5 years ago, and how Venom's regeneration actually helped him recover a great deal. Midoriya and Venom left All Might after both parties agreed to not tell each other secrets. But unbeknownst to Midoriya and Venom, some lingering effects of All Might's power was affecting both Venom and the spawning of the unborn symbiote inside. 2 weeks had passed, and the sports festival was finally here at UA. The atmosphere was full of cheers and excitement, not only for the crowd, who was ready for a great spectacle, but also from the students, who were told that various hero agencies would be keeping an eye on them. Amidst all this excitement, Shoto Todoroki approached Midoriya. "I'll be looking forward to beating you, Midoriya." "We'll see about that, Todoroki." The first event was the obstacle course, which Midoriya and Venom won by using their bulkier form to demolish their way through the robots. Venom's bulkier form had been augmented somehow from All Might during the USJ attack. In the cavalry battle, Midoriya's team also won, thanks to Venom being able to permanently copy Hatsume's builds. With Venom being able to augment Uaraka's quirk abilities, Midoriya's team was able to avoid Todoroki's attacks, which allowed Team Midoriya to end the match with 10,000 points still intact. After this defeat, Todoroki pulled Midoriya to the side and asked him questions about his quirk, seeing as how it was different from any other type of transformation-type quirk, especially since it temporarily transferred to All Might in the USJ. This left Midoriya to give him a short runaround about how Venom works to try and throw him off the scent, but Todoroki wasn't fully convinced. After this, Midoriya felt rather sick to his stomach. "What's going on?"
The other symbiote. It's almost ready to spawn.
"Oh no, this isn't good." Up next were the fighting matches, and it was Midoriya versus Shinzo. Unwittingly answering Shinzo's question, Midoriya found himself walking towards the edge of the ring, but Venom was able to snap Midoriya out of this mind control and beat Shinzo by wrapping him up with tendrils and throwing him out of the ring. Up next was Uaraka versus Bakugo. While Bakugo had won this fight, Uaraka put up quite the fight thanks to feeling the effects of Venom's strength boost, and was able to make Bakugo float into the air before he was able to, quote-unquote, fly with his explosions, and defeat Uaraka. Soon after, Todoroki's fight against Sero happened. Todoroki was able to win thanks to Sero not paying attention to where he was landing and falling out of bounds. After the last few matches were the quarterfinals, and during the first match between Todoroki and Midoriya, Midoriya felt nauseous and threw up all over the stage. White and black sludge poured from his mouth as it gathered into a pool and rose up. Midoriya stumbled and fell back as the fluid reared up and looked at Todoroki.
It's the newborn symbiote.
"Oh no, Todoroki, look out!" It was too late, though. The new symbiote had already lunged at Todoroki and began to bond with him, turning him into a creature with the same build and height as All Might, with white skin and black patterns, bulky clawed arms, and an orange mouth with orange eyes. An icy mist formed as it breathed in and out, and ice crystals gathered on its left side as the ground turned to frost under its feet. And by just standing there, it cracked the concrete as if it were cheap glass.
We are anti-Venom.
Venom?
Yes?
Mask!
Copy.
Venom then coated Midoriya as they became their bulky form and hissed at the new pairing of human and symbiote, who in turn hissed at the other two before they lunged at them with the intent to tear them apart. Midoriya and Venom were at the ready. It was a battle of the symbiotes now, and neither Midoriya or Venom would know who would come out on top.